But construction candidates are in high demand in Queenstown. I mean, as I already talked about, that's carpenters, plumbers, electricians, any trade really. And then on the civil side, we're talking operators and drivers. Construction candidates can expect to get work fairly easily in Queenstown if they do have the skills and experience. I guess some of the things they probably need to be aware of are the accommodation factor in terms of trying to find somewhere to live. If you're going to be in town long term, finding accommodation can be tricky, so it's best to probably talk to us before you look at coming to Queenstown so we can advise on that. Some of the other things that probably help, especially for the tradesmen, getting themselves employment is around having transport. Queenstown's public transport isn't particularly helpful at getting you to some of the outlying regions on time, and so we do find a lot of people arrive into Queenstown and then we struggle to get them into work purely because they can't get around. And there's not too many companies that are willing to run after them and get them to work. So having transport, or at least a plan to buy transport of some description, is pretty key. And I guess secondly to that also is around tools. In New Zealand there's an expectation for tradesmen to have their own tools to some level. It's usually basic hand tools, some basic electric tools, and having those makes you infinitely more employable, or at least being willing to buy them. Again, we do have the odd tradesman who arrives that expects that those sort of things are going to be given to them, and I guess it's something being aware of that in the New Zealand market there is an expectation that tradesman comes with their own tools. So construction in Queenstown is probably quite different to hospitality in terms of the sourcing of the candidates, because the construction candidates are probably less transient and less, I guess, there's less movement with the seasons. Construction candidates tend to be there to work, and so therefore they're there for a longer period of time, where the hospitality candidates, a lot of them are in the market for a bit of, I guess, external play, things like skiing and whatever else. And that's not to say the construction guys don't do that, but they seem to be a lot less dependent on the seasons. With that said, we do have the ability to attract candidates from elsewhere, which means we do look at international search and selection as well, and a lot of sponsoring of candidates. Just with the amount of workloads that we have, we are in a position, I guess the lucky position, where we know we can sponsor people into long-term work visas, knowing that we've got enough work to keep them busy. And that either means that they stay on our books as temporary employees for an extended period of time, or we give our customers the option of taking these visa-sponsored folk off us and putting them onto their own books. Well, construction clients of ours tend to work for us for the long term, and we do tend to have some really good and meaningful relationships with them in that space. And I think a lot of the reason for that is some of the initiatives we can put in place to assist them with finding the right staff, but also maintaining and retaining those staff for the long term. A couple of points on that. Firstly, we do undertake international search and selection for the right candidates, and in construction that's namely carpenters, electricians, probably plumbers will be the three main ones, and on the civil side probably excavator operators, truck drivers, truck and trailer drivers and the like. So we're always trying to stay ahead of the game in doing that, and finding the right people and assisting them in getting them out here, which can also involve sponsorship and us going through the process to grant these people work visas, and that's something that we are quite streamlined at doing now. We've done a lot of it, and we can get it through pretty quick, to the point where we're now able to maintain our temporary candidates longer, and then potentially pass them over to our customers as full-timers.